All right, we're ready to get started. Welcome to another workshop. This workshop is going to be all about spirit guides. It's going to be a really fun one, and I'm so excited to share this information with you. Before we get started, I just want to take a moment to go ahead and center ourselves and get ready to absorb the information and tune in and be able to easily identify what is resonant for us. So we are going to go ahead and make sure you're sitting in a comfortable position and close our eyes and take a few nice deep breaths. Some deep inhales and exhales. And allow any of the muscles that feel tension around our face and neck to relax and release with the breath. And then let's feel into our heart space, the heart chakra located right in the center of the chest, and breathe into that space. You can put your hands over your heart chakra if that helps. And allow our heart center to open and expand. Relax the shoulders. Let them fall back and down as you connect to your heart. All right, that feels beautiful. Now that we are all connected, let's go ahead and get started with the material. Hold on just a moment here while I share my screen. Right here. All right, we're in slideshow mode. Here we go. This is going to be a really fun workshop. I'm so excited to share this information with you guys, all about spirit guides. It is so fun to connect to our guides, and with a little bit of practice, it can flow and be really ease-filled. So I'm going to give you lots of tips and tricks to show you guys how to do this, how to make it easier to connect. And then at the very end of the workshop, we're going to do maybe like a 10 or 15 minute meditation to meet our spirit guides. So it's going to be really exciting. Here we go. All right, for those of you who do not know me already, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Rachel. I am an intuitive coach and mentor, an energy worker, and a professional psychic. I specialize in clearing blocks, releasing density, and aligning you with your inherent wholeness. In my coaching and mentorship sessions, I specialize in helping to align you with and uncover your soul's purpose, the reason why you incarnated here, and then bringing your unique gifts to life. I offer healing sessions, and as well, one of my kind of superpowers is that I'm very good at channeling energy through my palm chakras, through my hands. And that's another way that I express my gifts and share them with the world. I came to my abilities through my own fairly intense initiation process, otherwise known as a dark night of the soul. So this is a very common way that our gifts can awaken. I was very intuitive as a child, and then kind of became much less so and very disconnected from that as a teenager and as a young adult. And then through my own deep healing, physical, mental, emotional healing process, my gifts started to reawaken and open. I also identify as a starseed, so I connect really well and enjoy connecting with cosmic consciousness, with galactic beings. That is really fun for me. I currently live in the Arizona desert. I'm a bit of a nature-loving hippie, and I like to spend as much time outside as possible. I live with my wonderful husband, Jeff. This is a picture of us at Halloween, where he was a dragon and I was a unicorn. And so we have a lot of fun together. And I also have we have a doggy named Quigley. He is in his, his golden years. He likes to do a lot of sleeping, and I know I might be biased because he's my soul doggy, but I think he has the most sweet, big brown eyes of any dog I've ever seen in my entire life. And another little exciting personal tidbit about me is that for a long time now, I've been dreaming about moving into an RV and living in an RV full time. And we just purchased an RV last month, and we'll be moving in at the very beginning of May. And I will be conducting and running my energy healing and intuitive coaching business from the road. So this is her, the Class C Winnebago that we purchased. And I am also a vegan. And before I came into working as an intuitive, I was a vegan health coach and caterer and a personal chef. So that's another little interesting tidbit about my history. I have my favorite raw vegan lemon coconut cheesecake down here at the bottom for you guys to drool over. All right, so let's get into the material here. Who are guides? Guides are the non-physical helper energies that assist you on your unique path. Their purpose is to help and support you in your remembering who you are, your purpose, your power, and your divinity. So this is less about you being taught. Your guides aren't necessarily, this is kind of like a little bit of a nuance here, but they don't necessarily see themselves as teachers. As these all-knowing beings that are, dictating to you, but rather they're helping you to peel back the layers of density that you've accumulated to help you remember who you really are and connect you with your light. Everyone is surrounded by these energies whose purpose is to connect, assist, support, and encourage us throughout our journey. So we all have spirit guides. There are two primary types of guides. So the first would be your primary or permanent guide or guides. Some people have one primary or permanent guide. Some people have entire teams of primary or permanent guides. Neither is better or worse. It's specifically tailored to the individual and the type of support that you wanted to receive when you incarnated into a human body. These guides are with us our entire lives, from our transition into the human body through our transition on. And they know our incarnational blueprint or life plan very well. They understand the soul level karma that we're bringing into this life. They understand the lessons and the expansion that we wanted to experience in this life. And they're here to assist us with that. And again, these are long-term guides that are with us for our entire life. The other type of guide would be secondary or temporary guides. And these guides come in to assist us with particular aspects of our growth and expansion during times of resonance or synchronicity. So when there is resonance or synchronicity, or we're asking for assistance with a specific thing, this literally, you can think of it as an opening of a gateway or a portal that calls in the specific type of assistance that you need. Energy is amazing like that. That's how resonance works. I literally think of it as opening gateways or portals that you can connect with the energies that are resonant for you at that time. So this can be very practical in nature, or it can also be like a little more esoteric. So very practical in nature. You know, maybe you need help learning how to, I don't know, fix something or do something with your home, or something that seems very, you know, human-y. And you can call in guides to help with this. You can also have guides that are here to assist us with the more esoterica. Maybe you're at a place in your life where you're really wanting to connect with past lives or parallel lives, and you can have guides that come in whose specialty is to assist you with that. So again, this is specialized assistance, and these are short-term guides where you might notice that they come in at a specific season in your life to help, and then they leave when you've had that awakening or had that remembering, or they might pop in and out throughout your life, but they're just not constantly there like the primary or permanent guides. So all of us have access to both the permanent and the temporary guides. So you can absolutely call in these temporary guides for specific, you know, projects or goals. So I want to also talk about some different types of guides and the energies and the archetypes that exist there. This is by no means an exclusive list, and I'm not going into a lot of detail here because I feel like too much detail kind of breeds expectation, and I want to leave this more open so that you guys can see how these come through for you. But I do want to mention a variety of the archetypes of guides that can come through, because lots of times we have a really specific idea about what our guides need to look like or feel like or sound like, and this really specific idea or expectation limits us to being able to connect with the energies that are around us. So the goal of this list is to help you open up your ideas about what your guides might be like. You can have angels or archangels as spirit guides, ascended masters, ancestors, star people or ETs, animals, shamans or shamanic guides, which can also sometimes be ancestors and can often be animal guides as well, but not always. There are elemental guides, fairies, elves, merpeople, gnomes, unicorns, dragons, plants and trees, stones and crystals, Middle Earth beings. Elements and forces of nature can also act as guides. So the earth, meaning the soil or, you know, an aspect of the earth that we could connect to, or this could be the predominant vibration of Mama Gaia herself. This also works actually with cosmic sort of guides, where you can actually connect to the consciousnesses of other planets as guides too. Also forces of nature like water, wind, fire, clouds, smoke, volcanoes, the ocean or a specific ocean or body of water. I worked for a couple years with the wind as a guide, and that was a really exciting and expanding experience. So you can absolutely tap into those energies too. Witches, wizards, priests, priestesses, and then also past or future self and parallel lives selves. So there's a recognition of a variant of the flavor of energy that is you in this moment, but it will also feel different. And these are, you know, these parallel lives, obviously time and space, you know, only exist within time and space. So if we break down the construct of time and stretch our minds a little bit here, we have multiple parallel lives, and, you know, past and future lives can also just be seen as parallel lives, infinite numbers of parallel lives. And these aspects of ourselves that have a slightly different perspective or experience can come in and assist and support us too. Okay, guides can show up in a way as to give you clues or understanding about their personalities or how they are here to assist you. So this could be cartoon characters, movie or book characters, and they will meet you at your level of comfort, consciousness, and awareness and beliefs about your worth. So an example, a personal example that I can share here is one of my primary guides is also my conduit guide, a guide that helps me connect during my readings and my healings. And when I first met him, he came through as a cartoon character, as Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. And as I got to know him better, he shapeshifted and changed into an actual physical, you know, large, powerful tiger. And still sometimes when I connect with him, the Tigger aspect will pop in and then the tiger aspect will pop in. And so these, are giving you clues about their personality. So he has a light and humorous side that I might not have immediately picked up on if I would have just seen him as the tiger. And they'll also, again, this helps with our level of comfort. If we're feeling a little bit of fear or unease when we're looking to connect, bringing in an image or a voice or a feeling that feels familiar and really safe to us is a great way that they can introduce themselves. So therefore they can, shapeshift or change over time. This doesn't happen with all guides, but it's something that can happen, and it can be confusing for people sometimes when this happens. So I want to make sure that you guys know that this is a possibility and, maybe even a probability. So what do you like to connect with? These are likely the archetypes, the signs and symbols that will represent your guides, particularly initially. As your comfort zone expands, the representation for your guides might also expand. It also might not. Might come in looking a certain way, and that's the way that the guide always appears. So a deeper understanding of our guides. Who are they? Our soul exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously, so just at a different frequency. So here in this human body, we're in the third dimension, maybe some of the fourth as well. And, we have our soul is existing in, many other dimensions, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and so on, etc. So that's an important thing to understand about the soul and how its energy expresses itself. Our main soul stream experiences itself in multiple different dimensions. And you can think about it from the perspective of a soul. This would allow for the most amount of understanding and learning and growth. So we can think of our guides as aspects of our higher self or God self. And for me, God self feels genderless, but if that doesn't feel good to you, you can certainly, choose to use the word goddess or just use the term your higher self, that hold a knowing or remembering that we are seeking to rendezvous with in this incarnation or at a point in time in this incarnation. So this is sort of the big reveal, is that our guides we can think of them as an aspect of us. It may be an aspect of us that feels more like us. In the case of like a parallel life, that's going to feel really close to us, slightly different. Or it could be something that, literally feels completely unlike us because there is such a dimensional gap. But the way that this was explained to me by my guides and the image that I got to help me really be able to ground this understanding in a third dimensional brain is the image of jellyfish. So you can look at like the cap of the jellyfish as like an oversoul. So this is your soul stream or your oversoul. And then all of the little tendrils are like an expression of, or a fractile or a dimensional expression of that soul stream. And if you think of a cluster of jellyfish, as you go up and up and up, you eventually would reach the Godhead. So the Godhead would be one giant oversoul split into, let's say masculine and feminine energies, and then split, and then split, and then split. And so if we go up and up and up and up, eventually we're going to find an umbrella or an oversoul that connects us with our guides. So that's a really cool and useful way to understand where these guides are coming from and who they are and why they're interested in us. Guides are learning just as much from us as we are from them. They are completing karma and closing karmic loops and integrating and grounding their own growth and expansion via teaching, sharing, supporting, assisting, encouraging, and helping us pull back the veil in our remembering. So you can think about this, it really makes a lot of common sense. If we have gone through a big life lesson and we've had a big aha or takeaway, the best way for us to really ground, solidify that knowledge, to close that karmic loop, is then to teach. Through teaching or through sharing, we understand on a deeper level, and we are giving back. We are sharing our wisdom that we've gleaned with others to help in their journey. So that's how even we as humans, one way in which we can close karmic loops. And for guides, they have in some way, you know, been there or had an experience that is relatable or is an overlap with what you're going through. And they're closing their own karmic loops by helping you and assisting you and supporting you with that. They are engaging in their own learning. So our dimensional experience and our individual experience holds immense value, honor, respect, and love to them. Guides are not here to test us. Lots of people, I hear them saying, or, you know, people think that if they're going through a tough time or their guidance feels kind of vague, that their guides must be testing them. And that's not the case at all, at least from the way that I perceive it. Guides are here to support and help us. They're not here to, you know, throw little obstacles in our path to see if we can overcome them. Basically, when those types of things come up, the way I think of it is that, you know, we've experienced some level of expansion and the predominant vibration of our energy has shifted or changed. And when that predominant vibration changes, there's sort of like sediment that's no longer resonant, that might be a denser vibration that kind of rises or percolates up to the top and then needs to leave our system. And when that rises and percolates up to the top and exits, that's when we can perceive that a test or a challenge or discomfort is coming up. And that's the time when your guides actually really want to help and assist you the most. Okay, how to know when your guides are speaking to you. Your spirit guides will feel like you. Their standard language is gentle, loving kindness as guidance and an undercurrent or base energy of love. It will feel like your imagination almost, or like you're making it up. A lot of people have, including me, when I first started working with my intuition and trying to connect with my spirit guides, I had this impression that, you know, I would have this really prominent, like biblical angel showing up, you know, moment. And if that's the moment that you're waiting for, and to be quite candid, you're going to be waiting for like a long time. The majority of us, that's not how it works. And it's especially not how it works in the beginning. Even if you do end up having really powerful and larger and intenser experiences, it's very rare that that's going to happen at the beginning. It's almost this quiet whisper of either, you know, a voice or a feeling or kind of almost like a translucent overlay of an image that almost feels like it's kind of like ghosting in and out, that will be your guide showing up. And it will feel almost like you, almost like your own inner voice. But you can distinguish it by identifying that undercurrent or base energy of love. They will respect free will and personal sovereignty and offer guidance that also respects the free will and the sovereignty of others. So your guides aren't going to encourage you to, you know, do something that's going to violate or infringe on someone else's free will or sovereignty, or that's going to offer an energy exchange that's not love-based. That can be, you know, our own judgment coming through and not our guides. So yes, sometimes strong messages will punch through, but this is rare and typically in extreme cases. And you want to familiarize yourself with the energy or the messages that come through that have that flavor of the quiet, gentle, loving kindness. All right, so how to know when your guides are speaking to you versus ego and mind. So this is really important, because if your guides can feel like you or sound like you or etc., you know, how do we know when it's the guides and when it's us? And this is very subtle. And this really just requires a lot of practice to be able to make the discernment between your own mind and ego chatter and guidance. However, there are some telltale signs that can help you to start to tease this out. First, I want to really make sure that I've communicated that the ego is not bad or negative, and it does not need to be transcended. There can be a lot of rhetoric in the spiritual community about, you know, getting rid of the ego or transcending the ego, or how, you know, the ego is always messing everything up for us humans. The ego is the personality, and it has a lot of value. We specifically incarnated into a third dimensional experience to experience this individuation, the personality and the ego. What want to be wary of or be aware of is the distorted ego, when it goes unchecked or when it becomes out of balance. I mean, the majority of us spend, 80–90% of our awareness coming from a place of ego or a place of mind. And what we're looking to do is balance that, or bring the ego and the mind in when we know that it can be useful, but not just let it run amok. When it is out of balance, it can become maniacal. The mind is amazing at record keeping, at discerning patterns and noticing synchronicities. The mental energy of focus can be called through during creation. So again, the mind is a wonderful, beautiful human tool for us to be able to use, but it's just important to be aware of the balance and be aware of, when its skills would be the most beneficial. The mind also has a negativity bias. So there was a study done, and I don't remember the exact amount of seconds, but it's something like it takes like 2 or 3 seconds for our mind to create a memory when something happens that feels negative. And it takes something more like 8, 9, 10 seconds of focus for the mind to create a memory when something positive happens. So we can see how this would be beneficial and adaptive, back, several thousand years ago. Like if you touched a fire, even now, you touch a fire and it's hot and it burns you, it takes 1 second for that painful experience to register as memory. And that's to help you survive so that you don't burn yourself or hurt yourself going forward. But it's something to be aware of, because we really need to create the space and the time to devote our focus to something positive in order for us to create a memory there. So this is a helpful way for us to know how to use the tool of the mind. And when the mind is out of balance, it can overanalyze. And I like to think of this kind of like a computer program, like running analytics. And again, this can be helpful when it comes to discerning patterns, noticing synchronicities, record keeping, but it can be a hindrance when it comes to connecting with our guides. So that's a time where we can quiet the mind and, step out of that mental chatter. And it's another way that you can identify, guidance versus the mind. Is it feeling analytical or judgmental? That's likely mental energy. To go in a little more detail here. So with guidance, the messages that come through are more direct. This doesn't mean that the message might not require some interpretation. This doesn't mean that we'll always understand the message, but there is a focused, direct energy that will come through with guidance, where the ego or the mental chatter will bring with it lots of qualifying. Guidance will often challenge you and encourage you to take healthy risks, release energy and or attachments that are creating heaviness along your journey. It reveals the truth of who you are and guides you towards your highest expression. It brings security and recognition of your genuine divine nature. So, again, healthy risk. It doesn't mean that guidance isn't going to, just because guidance is gentle and loving, doesn't mean that sometimes there might not be some firmness to that flavor of gentleness. They can coexist. And it doesn't mean that sometimes we're not going to be, challenged to really widen our comfort zone or do something that feels uncomfortable or something where there's fear. But these are healthy risks. These are healthy challenges to encourage ourselves to take on for our own growth and development. Again, your primary guides know your soul level karma and your plan for what you wanted to learn and experience. And if you're really sitting in that comfort zone, they're going to encourage you and give you some, maybe gentle, maybe slightly more firm yet gentle nudges on. So the ego and mind likes to analyze, categorize, predict, and it finds safety in the comfort zone. To the ego, the unknown is a survival situation versus guidance, which brings with it joy and purpose and expansion. Guidance brings with it feelings of openness and expansiveness, and it will feel like you're growing, but will also bring peace with where you are. So guidance will never bring with it judgment about where you're sitting in the present and tell you that you need to do something or be something or try something in order to be better. Guidance will respect and honor where you are and bring a peace with where you are, but then it might encourage you to, take some dynamic action. The ego will rather will make you feel like you must do or be, X in order to find peace. Like that, that finish line that just keeps moving and then you can never quite reach. The mind will want to overanalyze what's wrong or what's right with the present and the hows and whys that got you there. Again, this is the running analytics. The ego and mind often speaks in shoulds with undercurrents of blame and judgment. So these are some ways that you can start to feel into and tease out what feels like guidance and what feels more like the ego or the mind. I'm just going to take a sip of my lemon water here. How do you know when your guides are speaking to you? So let's talk about discernment. Discernment is running messages or information through the heart space as a barometer, love as a litmus test. And this can connect down to the gut as well. Like sometimes we'll talk about like a gut feeling, but really the originating sort of brain, if you will, for discerning guidance is the heart space. So you can do this as an exercise very, very literally, almost like you are washing laundry or clothing or something, where if you receive something, a message that you feel like is guidance, again, you can find that heart chakra space right in the center of the chest, sit, quietly with your eyes closed and just imagine, visualize running that guidance, running that information, almost like kind of like a donut, like a torus through the heart space, out the back and back around, and just run it and rinse it and see if there's anything that crystallizes there, anything that gets clearer, see if it feels in alignment with your heart space, or see if it feels out of alignment, constrictive in your heart space. That's another way to discern the messages that you are getting. So your heart will always know. Does your heart feel expansive or contractive when you are checking in with your heart regarding the messages that you're receiving? And again, you can also check in and feel down into your gut, into your sacral chakra. So the sacral chakra is located right beneath the belly button. That's sort of like our gut space. And this chakra, some of the things that it governs are our emotions and our creativity. And so, if we're having an emotion that feels really, really off or constrictive, that could be an indicator that we are kind of moving away from the path that our guides are wanting us to go down. Versus if we feel an expansion or relaxed in the gut. And it's important to check in with both the heart and the gut, because again, if we're being encouraged to do something that and pushes us out of our comfort zone, there might be a little bit of fear that comes in, and there might be a little bit of tension in the gut. But when you run that energy up to your heart space, you'll still feel an openness there. So remembering how to read your heart is the most valuable skill that you can remember and ground and integrate here. So this is something, again, this is the remembering. We knew how to do this as kids. We didn't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what felt good to us, what felt fun to us, what felt light, what felt expansive. We just knew and we did it, and through our experience growing up and becoming more conditioned in our society, we sort of lose touch with that litmus test. So this is literally something, it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you do it for the right amount of times for you, and this will vary from person to person, your experience is perfect for you, you will start to have this remembering and things will start to click in, and you'll remember how this internal guidance feels. So again, this doesn't mean that messages are never uncomfortable to receive or integrate. In fact, we're often pointed or guided to do things or take action, release something, or reframe something in a way that challenges comfort. And I just want to put a little, idea out there to think about the difference in energy of comfort versus peace. There is a slight difference in energetic flavor to comfort versus peace. We can be doing something that feels scary, but there's a sense of peace in knowing that it's right for us. So you can feel into the difference of those two energies and ask yourself, does it feel comfortable? Does this feel peaceful? Even if there is a little bit of discomfort there, and check in with your heart space in that way. So in the last workshop, I talked in a lot more detail about meditation, but another shout out to meditation. It really is one of the best, probably, I mean, for the majority of us, the best way that you can start to get in touch with discerning the difference between mental chatter and ego versus guidance, getting familiar with that quiet space, and know exactly how guidance looks, sounds, feels, knows, tastes, and smells different from your ego or your mental chatter. So we can think of this like with bank tellers. Lots of us have heard about the question, how do bank tellers know when they receive a counterfeit bill? They handle the real thing, the actual money, so much that when a counterfeit bill comes through, it's like, this feels just slightly different, and they're able to identify it. They don't need training on it. They just can tell that there's a slight difference in the feel. So this is sort of in reverse. Most of us are so used to our mental chatter or our ego popping in that we're very familiar with that. And because we're so familiar with that actually gives us a bit of an advantage to be able to tell when something feels slightly different. And we need to create, and oftentimes through meditation is one of the best ways, create that quiet space where we can begin to feel into the difference in how guidance is coming in, and that it will again sound like us and feel like us, but there's just that very slight difference in flavor. Recording your experiences in a journal is so important. We talked about the brain and its negativity bias. So it's so easy, especially if we feel like we have a hard time connecting, or we're just not that intuitive, or we've told ourselves this multiple times, we've sort of ingrained this negative memory into our brains. And even when guidance does come through and you'll think, I think I might have gotten something, it's very easy just 5, 10, 15 minutes later, the next day, to be like, I don't know, that might have just been in my head, that might have been my mind. So recording your experiences in a journal, even if you do not know what they mean, even if they seem really, really simplistic or basic. I mean, the first time I ever did a spirit guide meditation, the only sensation that I got was I felt like a presence that came in and almost was like holding my hand, and that was it. But me being able to record that experience and come back to it when it and remember, when I wrote it down, how true and valid it felt for me, this will start to allow you to form these new memories, to allow yourself to believe that you are intuitive and you do have these abilities to distinguish. And over time, you can go back and look and notice patterns and synchronicities and really build up your confidence. So how to connect? What are the energies that make it easier for us to connect? Curiosity, openness, spaciousness, play, keeping the energy light really makes it so much easier for us to connect, letting ourselves be open, opening that heart space, relaxing our shoulders, relaxing our jaws. This is why, meditation is so beneficial. In meditation, we're creating space, we're creating openness. Things that can bottleneck or pinch the connection would be expectation, judgment, comparison, and fear. So we talked about this with the archetypes, that if we have a specific expectation about how something needs to come through or look, it's going to make it so much harder for it to come through. If we're, judging where we're at or what is coming through, if we're comparing to other people, or, if we feel really scared. These are all, valid feelings, and I'm not suggesting that we tell ourselves that we're not in fear when we really are, but it's important to just be aware of where we might be allowing ourselves to call in these energies, and we can kind of course correct or just layer in some openness or some spaciousness with those feelings to start to create some movement. I also talk about this in more detail in our first workshop if you'd like more information about that. So broaden your mind. That sounds cheesy, but it's true. Broaden your mind and get curious. Curiosity and play open the channels of communication. Just letting yourself be curious. Expectation and imposing conditions constricts communication. So that is it for the information about connecting with your spirit guides, to give you guys a great place to jump off from. I also want to remind you, before we get into the meditation here, that there is one more workshop coming up in a few days on Tuesday the 9th at 6 p.m., which is Become an Alchemist Energy Basics, where we're going to be talking all about energy, how it moves, how it flows, how it groups together, how it can get stagnated, and I'm going to teach you one of my favorite techniques to transmute energy, where you can literally become an alchemist and shift and change your energy into new vibrations. It's going to be really exciting. I would love to see you there. So let's see here. We're going to go ahead and get started on the meditation. Let me come out of screen share. All right, so to give you a quick sort of idea about what we're going to do here is you can set the intention before we start. I'll give you a moment to close your eyes and set the intention and ask to meet your primary spirit guide. If you have already met your primary spirit guide and you'd like to meet a secondary guide, you can absolutely set that intention. I think the majority of us are going to be looking to meet our primary spirit guide, so that's the intention that you can set. I'm going to be guiding you through a process to elevate your vibration and get yourself to a place where it will be very easy to connect, or easier to connect, I should say. And then I'm going to give you time to sit quietly or lie down quietly and see what comes up for you. If nothing comes up for you, that's totally okay, and that is totally common. It can take a couple of times of trying these meditations for guides to come through. What is important is if you don't notice anything coming through for you, just relax and stay in that vibration of that elevated energy. Work on attuning your energy to that elevated vibration to make it easier to connect the following times. So let's go ahead and get started. Take one more sip of water. Make sure that you're either sitting or lying down in a comfortable position. And let's start by closing our eyes and taking a few nice deep breaths. Allowing any tension to fall and melt away. Anything that we might have accumulated throughout our day or morning, to simply wash away with our exhales. And now I'd like you to feel into your heart space. And again, you can put your hands over your heart if that makes it easier for you to draw your attention there. And with your inhales and your exhales, allow your heart space to open. And now, feeling through that energy of your heart space, we're going to connect to the energy of deep, unconditional love. I'd like you to call into your imagination. You can visualize whatever feels good to you, the image of a loved one, someone who immediately incites deep, unconditional love. This could be a partner, or a child, or a pet. This could also be a physical location like the beach, somewhere where you feel spaciousness and deep connection to love. And as you bring in that imagery, allow yourself to expand into that feeling of love. And as you feel this love filling you up, you may notice that there's a staircase that appears in front of you. This staircase has 10 steps. And as you walk up the steps, you feel your vibration raising higher and higher. We're going to take the first step here. Step 2, 3, 4. You feel your light shining brighter and expanding. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as you get to the top of your staircase here, you may notice a door. And this door can look or feel however feels good to you. Whatever comes through for you is perfect. And then you might reach down to the knob and open the door and walk through. And on the other side of this door, you notice yourself in a room or a space. And this space can look, feel, sound, smell, any way that feels good to you. Or you may simply just know that this space exists. And now you can ask for your spirit guide to come forward. Let them know that you would like to connect. And I'm going to give you a few moments to do so. And now, regardless of your experience, you have the opportunity to offer gratitude towards your spirit guide for the opportunity to connect, the opportunity to attune to this energy, to grow and expand. And remember, you can offer your gratitude with words of thanks, with loving energy from your heart space, or you can imagine giving them a physical gift, whatever feels good to you. And now say goodbye to your spirit guide, letting them know that you'll be back to connect again soon. And turn around and walk back towards your door. Open it and step through, closing the door behind you. And now walk down the staircase with each step, coming back into your physical body. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now you can begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. You can move your head side to side, rock back and forth, grounding back into your physical body. And now I'd like to invite you as well to put your feet on the ground if you're not sitting in that way already. And any of this light and high vibrational energy that needs to ground for us to come back into our full human experience and feel grounded throughout the day, just let it release down out through the feet into the earth, still keeping and holding on to all of the high vibes that you've experienced, raising your vibration and connecting, but just allowing any of that extra energy that wants to release to go down into the heart of Mother Earth. Wonderful. Well, I hope you guys had such a great experience tuning into that energy and connecting. I'd love to hear about how your experience went for you, if anybody feels comfortable sharing.